Hello, beautiful creative people. Welcome to How to Art Journal. I'm your creative tour guide, Kyla Givehand. I recently had the pleasure of chatting with one of my favorite artists, Roben-Marie Smith. You've likely heard me mention her in my videos and classes as someone who has inspired me to jump in and let go of the rules when it comes to art, mixed media, and art journaling. So I cannot begin to express how much of an honor it was to chat with Roben-Marie about her creative journey, what it takes to find your own style, and how she has created a business model that works for her. Roben-Marie is a mixed media artist, teacher, and blogger who strives to serve others and help them get the most out of their art. She's the visionary behind Paperback Studios and the many online classes she teaches. I just adore Roben-Marie's desire to learn and her unquenchable curiosity. I think it adds to her style being so recognizable. She's not afraid to play, to try, or to fail. Roben-Marie has been making art for 10 years and is a self-taught artist. Her work has been featured in countless books and industry magazines. Maybe you can recognize some of these titles: Creative Lettering Workshop, Art Saves, Journal Revolution. Or maybe you subscribe to some of these magazines: Somerset Studio, Art Journaling, Greencraft, Artist Cafe, Artful Blogging. Even after being in all these amazing places, Roben-Marie is still a down-to-earth woman of faith who wants you to claim your happy. Listen in as Roben-Marie shares her story with me, some of her most recent art, and her favorite art supplies. And of course, the amazing things that she has coming for us later this year. All right, grab your tea. Here we go. Roben-Marie, thank you so much for joining me. I have been dying. Oh, right. Someone told me to stop saying that. I have been living to interview you. And so I'm so happy that we get to chat today. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for the invitation. It's nice to actually finally see you face to face live.
Yes.
We've actually worked together in the past. And
Yes.
so much of the internet's like that, where you don't really get to ever maybe meet or see each other. And I love that we're doing that now more with video, because it's making those connections much stronger, I think. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I know you have so much going on, and I can't wait for you to share it with people. So we're going to ease into the conversation a little bit and talk. I like to ask pretty much the same questions to everyone, but I always find it beautiful how every person's answer leads us down a different path. And so we'll start just pretty simply here with what brought you to art journaling and mixed media?
Okay. Well, probably a lot like most creatives, I would think. There was some evidence of an interest in that when I was younger. So, I mean, every craft, every project, whatever it was, I wanted to do it. I mean, I made my own stuffed animals. My parents would give me kits. You named it, I did it. And I mean, everything, weird things. Like I remember making the craft hut at summer camp was where I spent most of my time, because I wanted to do every project, everything from, sunflower seed jewelry to, whatever. I mean, what did we have at our fingertips then?
Yeah.
And I actually kept journals, but they were more just writing. I dabbled in some poetry, wasn't very good. But just getting things out, whether it was through the words, and then I would go through magazines and I would cut things out too. But I mean, nothing like what we do today, because I'd never seen anything like it. So I was sort of a cross between a little bit of that. And then eventually when Somerset Studio launched their first magazine, I guess it was Somerset Studio. Yeah. I was like, oh my word, look at this. I'm like, I could never do this. And it was just fascinating to me. And then I remember reading an article. It was a featured article on Kelly Kilmer, who's in California, and her art journals. And I was mesmerized by them. I remember I just spread them out on the floor. I mean, I spread the magazine on the floor, and I just spent all this time just looking and reading. And I'm like, I was so fascinated. And I had already sort of gotten into scrapbooking, like a lot of us probably did, and some stamping. And I thought, I can do this. And so I just started getting some supplies, and I started enhancing what I was already doing and just trying to learn and figure out what I liked. And so that kind of led into the journaling. But the mixed media was that, and here's just the story, is I get bored really easily. Like I love so much. And I'm thinking we all must be like this, or a lot of us are.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, okay, I'm ready to sew more now. I want to do fabric. And so mixed media really satisfies all of that, because I can pull from paper and paint and everything into one project. And I think that's why art journaling and just the element of bringing all of that in is so interesting to me and drew me in. You know, I don't do a lot of painting. I'm getting there. I like having options and pulling in many things.
Yeah.
So it was it was a progression getting from, learning, what, and I mean, even in class, even in school, I loved my 8th grade art teacher. She was amazing. She taught me batiking. We carved stamps back then with the wood, with the clay.
Yes. Yes.
Remedial then, but I love doing all of that. And so I think I knew that it was there. But then when I, you go through high school, you take the tests, you say, what are you going to be good at, and where can you have, a future?
Right.
Well, before the internet and before we had all of these opportunities, and I'm saying these young people that are out there right now, and even, I mean, I'm older now, but there's so much opportunity I wish we had when we were that age.
Yes.
But then it was, well, you get a job, you stay at that job for 20 or 30 years, you retire, you get a pension, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you like it. Well, that wasn't enough for me. I wanted, but I knew from taking the test and talking to the counselors, they're like, you can't make a living at arts. You're going to have to pick something. And so I picked computer programming, which wasn't bad because I'm a tech geek too. And I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it. And I took my first job. I actually changed my major to public relations, which is sort of creative. And I did that for a while, but I'm more suited to work for myself and to be alone. I'm not shy, but I'm an introvert. So my happy place. So I know that's a long way around, but that's kind of how I got here. And then an opportunity just presented itself. And I said, you know what? I'm turning this hobby into a business. And I did. And I grew it little by little. And, and I couldn't be happier. I love it. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You've said so many things in there that are just awesome and amazing. First of all, I have to just go back to, I started my degree in computer programming.
Oh my gosh. Because we're probably, I don't know, we won't talk about age, but that was the job back then.
Yeah.
Computers, the Mac came out when I was in college, like early college. Okay? And it was like, I was so fascinated by that thing. I mean, I just could not wait to get in the computer lab every day just to be able to do my work, because I took advertising courses and all of that. But I realized, after being there for a while, I was like, I'm just not going to be happy as a programmer. I'm just not. So.
Yeah. That's so funny, because that is the Mac. My brother-in-law bought me one at the end of my 11th grade year. It was the square one that you got from Radio Shack. It was like a big deal. And I just remember.
I think that one that was like, it didn't even have a hard drive.
Exactly.
It was an external. Yeah. Yes, folks out there who are in your 20s and 30s, we didn't have a hard drive in that.
We did not. There was no wireless. There was no. So yeah, it was. So I love that, because I think so many times people think, oh, these people who are doing amazing work, which I adore your work. People look at that and they say, oh my gosh, she must have been doing this all her life. She probably went to art school, and she probably has, did art when she was 3, and right. But I think it's important for people to hear that for some of us, it's just a progression. You pick up one thing, because I'm like you. I tried scrapbooking. It wasn't my thing. I've done jewelry making. I think I have dabbled in a little bit of everything. I'm just trying to find my way, trying to find the thing that could hold my attention long enough. Yeah. And so for me, it has been book art and mixed media, and it just it's a beautiful combination. And I want to go back to something you said about just really allowing yourself to learn as you grow, and then just making the decision one day, I'm going to turn this hobby into a business. I think that is how it works for people. I think some people kind of say, oh, I want to be an artist, so I must do this as a business. And then instead of allowing themselves to kind of grow into it. So I love that was your journey.
That's not even for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
What started out was, it was sharing more. It was blogging. Of course, back then blogging was new. Boy, I'm really dating myself now. I remember seeing a blog and I went, I want one. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I want it. And so I started it, and that was like back in, I think that was 2004 or something.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, there's so much more information out there that you can do things so much faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I didn't know if it was really for me, but I had already worked freelance for years for an ad agency. So I had a taste of it, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to learn as I go, and I'm going to figure it out. And if it works out, it's great. And I knew that I wanted to share and be a teacher, and I didn't know how much until I started doing it. And then it was like, wow, I could have been a teacher. So yeah.
I love it. I love that. So what does your creative process look like? Because I'm listening to, you say sometimes you want to pull from fabric and sometimes you want to sew something, and sometimes, so what is when you go into your studio each day, what does your creative process look like?
And I love the opportunity to share, because you wonder what it's like for others. I get questions a lot, you must go in there and you just, and I'm like, no, most of the time I go in, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'll tell you what really helped me. It's approaching it with a something specific. So right now I'm working through the 100-day project, and I can't even believe I committed to 100 days. I'm a little stressed now. We're in like day 58 or something. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I could have picked something easier, like, I don't know, sketch a flower, but I did a whole mixed media thing. So anyway, but knowing that I'm planning on doing something and I'm focused helps me a lot, or if I'm thinking about a new workshop, or the biggest thing is and this helps too, and this is the answer I give when, well, what do you do if you don't know what to create or you're just blocked? I like to make something for someone else, because then I'm not really pressured at all. It's going there, and mail art is the perfect thing to do, because what will happen is you'll start, and then an idea comes to mind, and then you kind of wrap that up, and then you go, oh, and then you pull something else out. And that really helps me. It's just being in there and just starting something. But a lot of times it's paper. I start with paper. I'll say I love working with my underpaper. I call it underpaper. There's been some folks following me that are overseas, and they're going, under what? Underwear? Under what? No, not underwear. Underpaper, the stuff on your table that looks so amazing that you could frame it and put it on your wall.
Yes.
And I'll just kind of tear off a piece. I've been doing that a lot with the 100-day project, and just something in mind, just grabbing stuff and going, all right, just work with whatever you've got there. And the process changes. I mean, it depends on how I'm feeling that day, and I don't always get in here every day, because as running a business, a lot of that pulls me away from creating. So I think it's hard to explain. It's not the same every time. And I go in with the intention of doing something, and it's just not working. I don't force it. Take a break, come back, or just choose something else and work on it. So
that's actually really great advice. If you can't think of what to do, make something for someone else. Like, that's a really great sort of go-to prompt that you can always have. Like, you're stuck, you're feeling in a lull, and just, make something for someone else. And I haven't taken your mail art class, but I took one of your classes where one of the projects was creating a piece of mail art. So the class wasn't focused on that, but it was, I want to say it was like mixed media mayhem or something like that. But in there was a project. Yeah, there was a project where we did some mail art. So I'll make sure that folks, those of you out there watching, that there's some links down below so you can find all the wonderful classes that Roben-Marie teaches, because trust me, they are amazing. So talk a little bit about, you have this creative process of just coming and just seeing what happens. And I actually have to say something about the underpaper. Whenever I'm teaching a class and I say something about the paper, I say, well, Roben-Marie calls this underpaper, right? So I always reference you when I say that, because you're the first person I ever heard say that. And I kind of feel like it's branded to you at this point.
I'm like, I don't know. I just started saying it years ago. And I mean, I don't know.
It's stuck. Yeah. Yeah. And I see other people saying it too, and they reference you. And so I'm like, yeah, that's Roben-Marie's thing. So I love that. So when you start thinking about inspiration, what does inspiration look like for you, and where do you find your inspiration?
Yeah, it changes, it varies. And I know that I've read this before, and I know it's advice that's given sort of, by other artists, but you know, when I'm stuck, I got to get out of the studio. I've got to get away from things. And you think, and sometimes I'll be on a deadline or I'm feeling pressured and I've got to get this done. But I know if I step away and I take some time away, that it really does rejuvenate you, and it really does help.
Yeah.
You know, nature, there's so many things just even in nature that inspire. You know, color inspires me like nothing else. I mean, I just can't get enough of color. And the crazy thing is, for those that have been following me for years, I used to never use color. I was brown, I was cream, I was black, I was vintage. It was just I loved it. And maybe I was afraid to go to color, but I mean, you got your paints out and you got your crayons out and that color is in front of you. Yeah. You can't help but be inspired. And I keep a big, huge stack of paper. I cleaned up though today. I have my samples out. I'm like, I can't even get the computer on the table. And all the papers and scraps and things that I create, I like to have out, because then I look at them and it might give me an idea and inspire me to do something else. And you know what? I think it's fine to look through like home decorating magazines. And I know a lot of you that follow know I love anthropology. In fact, if there was any way for me to use, well, I don't know, the receipts that they give me, I use their bags, I use their catalogs, I use their little envelopes they send you your orders in. I mean, I use everything.
I love it.
So, you know, but that inspires me.
Yeah. No, I love that. Just pulling inspiration from lots of different places. I think people often let me ask you this. Do you wait for inspiration, or do you just go when you know you need to be creating, and you're feeling a little lull, do you just go and find the things that inspire you? Or do you do a little bit of both?
I would say a little bit of both. I know that if I'm really struggling, and there's been times I haven't been in here in a month or more, like it just wasn't happening. You know, there was too much stress or whatever, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
That for me. And sometimes I just come in and go, I just want to play. I just want to do something. And so for me, creativity just increases. And then I'm working on something and bam, there's an idea. And it comes out of nowhere, but it's because your mind, you're in that process of creating. So you don't know what's going on back there. And suddenly something comes up and I go, well, that's a great idea. How, you know, hello, but it just came from folding paper. Or I stitched something a certain way and I went, oh, I love that. But maybe if I weren't working and playing with those things, I would have never have, you know, I think what I'm trying to say is I don't just sit around and wait for an idea.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes an idea pops in my mind. Sometimes they pop in my mind and I try it and it looks horrible and it never works. Yes, that happens a lot. Or I just get in here and start playing, and then it just starts happening. And then I look at the clock and it's like, you know, 6 hours later and I'm just having a great time in here.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, let's kind of shift a little bit. I would love, I don't know, I didn't prep you for this. So if you don't have it handy, you can tell me you don't have it, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about your 100-day project, and maybe show, if you have any pieces nearby that you're doing, talk a little bit about that. And even maybe why you took on that challenge. Why take on a 100-day challenge? Yeah.
All right. So here is, I did have these. Okay. This is my first, I think 57 days. There's everything is in here. What has evolved from kind of a simple, hey, I think I'm going to take, okay, well, let me start at the beginning.
Okay.
And I talk way too fast. You hope those that are watching can keep up. I talk fast when I get nervous. So
me too. Oh my gosh.
So what happened? I didn't even start the 100-day project until a few days in, and I was talking with another art friend, and she was doing it, and I was like, well, what is this 100-day project thing? And I really thought I wanted to have something that I was like committed to doing that would make me do something creative. Like my schedule is really busy during the summer, and I was like, I have a feeling I would neglect getting in here if I didn't have a focus. Remember I said, if I have a purpose and a focus, sometimes that helps me. Yeah. So she mentioned it, and I went and investigated, and I was like, oh, you get to pick whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be a specific project.
Right.
Everybody that does it picks what they want. It could be writing. It could be art. It can be anything. And so I thought about it, and I was like, well, I mean, I don't know why the anthropology popped into my mind, but I think part of the story part is that, let me explain what I'm doing. So I do a piece of art. Here's just an example. I don't know if the light's really bright. So what I do is I take art or I create something artsy. And a lot of this is just stuff that's on the table, just stuff I've grabbed. Here's when you can see a little bit better. So the spoon is from the Anthropologie catalog.
Nice.
The story is I always take an image from the Anthropologie catalog, somehow incorporate it into the artwork, and then I write a little story about it. And I wanted to do it that way because I wanted to force myself to write, because I freak out when I have to write. Like it's like so much stress.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm finding that it's getting easier to write, and the feedback I'm getting on the whole project has been amazing.
Yeah.
You're like, we look forward to that every day. And I'm like, really? What? And then, I'm like, okay. And so, but part of what happens too is that, well, some days I have to work ahead because I'm going to be out of town. And there's been 2 weeks I've been out of town during the series, and I had to work ahead. Now, I really was going to try to get the trip to Honduras is 2 weeks. There's no way I can do 4 weeks before. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So hold it, let everybody know, and I'll resume when I get back. But too much pressure. And I don't want to create something in a rush that's not meaningful to me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I thought, well, I can do 100 days. Well, I'm at, like I said, it's like day 57, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm a little halfway through. Can I do this? But I really want to.
Yeah.
But when it's done, it's garnered 2 tutorials from just doing that. I'm filming a bunch of them, and I have ideas for what I'm going to do with them. And I think it's going to be a class.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it into a class. I have too many ideas here, and then what I'll do with them. So by creating and spending time doing this, I've then, and I mean, I say the word leverage your work like a bazillion times in my classes because I love it. I believe in that. And now I can take this project that has generated ideas, and it will become something else. It's going to become probably a product line. It's going to become probably an art line. There's a ton of stuff in here, not with the parts of the catalog, of course, because they're copyrighted, but everything else around that, there's a lot to share. So I'm glad I took it on. It's been a real challenge, but sometimes, committing and doing a challenge, it's not always going to be easy. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. And I'm actually really, I'm really glad that you shared that, and that you shared the word leverage, because when I work with folks that are doing creative businesses, I often say that you've got to leverage content. Like you shouldn't have to create something new every single time. Like you've got stuff that you're already working on. How can you repurpose that? How can you repackage that? And so I love, and I know a lot of people out there are like rubbing their hands together like, oh, she's making a class, there's going to be so I'm sure people are excited about that, because the pieces are, and I don't think I knew the part about the writing. I knew, I think I read on your Instagram feed that you were using, anthropology and that, but I don't think I paid attention to the fact that there was story with this. So I love that. I love
each one. I try to, I think, the spoon one that I showed, I think the story, I mean, some of them are based on something that happened to me. So some of them are, but you don't know which ones. Like some changes. But I think the story about this one had something to do with like a date, and the girl really liked the guy. And so she kind of took his spoon as a memento or something after, I can't remember. Yes. But sometimes I struggle with the stories and they don't come. And then other days they just come super fast. But I try to tie them into whatever the image is.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, that is actually a really great prompt to like make writing stories from your art. That's actually a really great prompt for folks. So since I'm going to put you back in the spotlight really big here. I'd love for you to share some of your favorite supplies. Like what are your go-to supplies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I almost think they're kind of boring. I was looking at I'm like, well, but there's certain things that you go to a lot. And of course, paper is huge for me. Paper is huge. But I have my Yoo-hoo glue stick. I got a question about this today. A lady was asking me about it, and she said she doesn't have good luck with it. And I said, well, I live in a humid climate. She lives in a dry climate. So that can be a factor. I also like Collage Page, or I use gel medium too. It depends on what I'm gluing. If I need something a little bit stronger and more durable, like if I'm going to attach something or whatever, the gel medium works great for that. So I do like that. Yeah. But I love pens and pencils. My favorite right now, obviously Stabilo Mark Saul. Dina Wakely got me hooked on that years ago, and I can't.
Same here.
So I mean, most everyone can. That's a Stabilo, and they come in some other colors. Now, one of my other tools, and I say this but they don't make it anymore. At least I can't find it. But they do make the Stabilo. It's called a tone, and I get a lot of questions about the tone. And I think the replacement for this is called a Woody.
Yes, yes. I have the Woody.
They're not quite the same. These are just a little creamier, and I think there's more colors, but they're basically similar. So
okay. Okay. And they're water soluble, right? They're okay.
White China marker is great, or not marker. This is China pencil.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have the best luck with the white gel pen.
Me either.
I mean, and I have to really write slow to get it. And I don't know if it's because of where I live. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But this is nice as an alternative. So I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm hooked on this. I know it's just a simple pencil, but it's a Faber-Castell grip. It has these little black, I don't know if that's
yeah, the little black dots.
I love this pencil.
Yeah.
Lead. And then Mistel got me.
Same here, that 9XB pencil.
I'm like, I love this pencil. I need to get a pencil sharpener though that's big enough for that.
Yeah.
That's one of my tolerations is I'm not good about sharpening my pencils. So I have a ton of them, and then I just grab the one that has the sharp point on them. And then finally I have to sharpen them all.
Right.
I like to do like transfers with gel medium, and this basic gray, it's like a little tool.
Oh.
It has a tip on the end that you can rub like for rub-ons, but this end here is great for smoothing out wrinkles or even doing the transfer. I love this little tool.
Nice.
Basic gray makes that. Now, and of course I love my Pitt pens. They come in different sizes. I like these for sketching. And then my brush favorites right now are Simply Simon. And I can't really tell you why. I think it's just that you go for the brushes that you really, really like.
Yeah.
And them are white and they just have that little black thing. I don't use brushes a lot. I use my fingers a lot.
Yeah.
If I need a brush, I kind of go to those. And then I have to say, I do love a lot of different paints, but the Deco Art Media, this is the Fluid brand.
Okay.
Yes. There are some color. These are so pigmented.
Really?
It doesn't take much to get, and I love the blending of the colors. These are some of my new favorites right now. I've been using them for a while, and I just keep them right handy, and I just grab for those. And then I use the Golden High Flow. I use these mostly for drips, and because there's something about it, and I even add a little water. When you do, it almost dries. Like the darker one almost looks like coffee when it's dry, like a real coffee stain. There's something a little dimensional about it and translucent. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I could go on. I have like tons of favorites, but
well, I'm going to say I'm really shocked that gesso is not the first thing you say.
No, you know what? Because if you go back to like some older classes, I put gesso on everything.
Yes.
That goes back to this evolving of how you change the way you work, and you know, and like for me, I don't care for the soft canvas. I like the art boards. I like to work on a harder surface. So I think it's just trying out things. And back then I was really learning. Yeah. And I loved it, and I put it on everything, and then I just sort of evolved out of it. I just don't use it that much now. I really don't.
That's awesome. And I'm so happy. I almost didn't mention that, but I'm happy that I did, because I think it's important for people to hear that, like what you're liking today and what you're using today might not be what you use all the time. You might allow yourself to grow out of it. Kind of like we grow away from, certain things that we did when we were 10 that we're not doing today. Right. Yeah.
If you're brave enough to try different foods, I cannot imagine not having tried all the foods that I have, because I love Vietnamese food, and I love Thai food, and I mean there's so much, and I think to myself, if I had never tried those, I would be missing out. So don't limit yourself and think, well, I can't use that, or I don't know how to use that. There's just so many resources out there, and you won't know until you try. Now, don't go buy everything and then try it out, And I did forget one other tool, and that's my sewing machine.
Oh, yes. You're so awesome with that thing. You actually made me a little more brave to sew on paper. And I borrowed a sewing machine from a friend, and it was actually her daughter's, like her 11-year-old daughter had a sewing machine, and she let me use it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Who knew? Who knew I could do this? And then I think you taught this technique where you like just make little freehand sketchy, just go back and forth a bunch of times and it looks great. And I was like, oh my God, it doesn't matter if I make a mistake because nobody's gonna know. So yeah, you really helped me free a lot of my limiting beliefs about what I could and could not do as an artist, what I had permission to do and things like that. So
And I hear that. I appreciate that because I hear from a lot of my students, one thing is, how do I get looser? How do I get out of that? I'm like, I was very much like that in the beginning. It was all I'm very structured in so many things in my life, but this gives me freedom to not be. And and I'll hear from them, watching you work, you just go, I don't like that, and you cover it up. Or I have one video, it's a journaling video where I literally tore something off the page, and inevitably most people say, I about gasped when you did that, thinking, what is she doing? And then I just did something else, and they go, and I liked what you did better. And I'm like, because the things that I mess up on oftentimes, or I go, oh, and then redo something, I end up liking it far more than I would have or thought I would.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Thank you for saying that, because I think people think that you just go in with an idea and then you make it happen and it's done. Like that there are no mistakes and there
Oh, well, and here's the thing. I don't say when someone, and of course I need to work on this, because when I almost don't want people to ask me what I do, because they're never going to understand. It's like, oh, they go, oh, you whatever. You've heard them. We all have answers.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes.
And I have to say, well, I'm not a fine artist. I'm not selling in galleries. That's not the kind of artist that I am.
Right.
But a lot of people don't get it. They don't understand this.
Yep.
And I think it's okay that I don't do those things.
Yeah.
What I do, I love, and I love to share it, and I enjoy it, and it makes me happy. No, I don't have these amazing paintings that I just admire from other artists that have, gallery shows, but everybody can approach this the way they want to. And somebody might look at that and go, that's not art. And then others are like, oh my gosh, I want to learn how to do that. So I like it where I don't have those rules and limitations, and I can just go, that stitching's all messy. Who cares? I like it, And I think that's what brings you to your style and brings you to what you enjoy. So
yes. And that's what matters. And okay, so thank you for saying the word style. Let's have you talk just a little bit about how you found your voice in art. And to me, that voice and style are the same kind of thing. So, whatever you want to share there, but how do you, because you have a very distinct style. I can see something, I'm like, that is Roben-Marie. I don't need to see your name. Somebody else can post it. I think someone actually reposted something of yours on Instagram once. And I was like, that's Roben-Marie's. This person is, but they gave you credit in the caption, but I was like, okay, I know that's her work. I can see that, right? So it's very distinct. How do you get to that?
I hear that, and then I think maybe I'm not alone in this, where I think, really, I have a style? Like, what? Because I like to try so many different things, and I want to dabble, but I do see, kind of the color, the little bit of grunge, the very messy, the whole, and I'm like, and we touched on this earlier, it's a process, because if you saw what I did before, like years ago, so very different. And I will tell you that my breakthrough moment with color came from Tracy Bautista. I was teaching at I think it was Art Unraveled in Phoenix. This was 10 years ago. And I took a class with her. I just wanted to take a class. And I was amazed. I went back to my room and I started doing stuff. I had stuff laid out all over the floor, like bright colors. And I felt like something had just opened up that I didn't know was there. Yeah. And if I hadn't taken that class, would I have gotten to where I'm at? I don't know. But she just helped me see that don't be afraid of the color. Just embrace that. And I think it's just like you were talking about jewelry. You tried the jewelry. I did that too. And I loved it, but I didn't love it enough.
Yes.
Like, liked it because I love all those things. So then I really decided, probably within the last few years, I'm going to focus on what I really, really like to do. And I'm going to get better at that and more comfortable with that, and try, other products and other things to see, don't be afraid to do that. I mean, I'm not setting out to say it's time to change my style. I'm going to do something else, because you can't force yourself to do that. You have you just, what comes from you is unique to you.
Yeah.
And the only advice that I can give is I don't have a specific answer, but it's just keep creating,
Yeah.
keep doing it. And I know I have a lot of students will say, but I don't want to just copy you. I want to try to find my own way.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's okay to learn. I mean, everyone from way back when that were studying under the masters were doing that. Then you find your style by, yeah, I really don't like that, or I like that, or whatever. Not everyone's going to like the same paints that I like or whatever. So I think it's just doing it. It's do the work, get in there and play, and don't get frustrated when it doesn't look like somebody else's, let it be you. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Cause I often look like there's certain people in our little mixed media bubble, right? Our industry, our community, that have very distinct styles, and you can literally look at it and, like, Mistel is one of them, Tamara Laporte, right? Dina Wakely, people you've mentioned here, right? Tracy Bautista, like, they have very distinct styles. You can pinpoint them out of a lineup of art. And I always am curious how people find their way to their style. In book art, it's very similar. Like, I can look at a book that was made by a particular book artist, and I can know that is her, that's Julie Chen, or that is, Barb Tettenbaum. Like, I can look at them and say, I know who created that. And I find that is such a, it feels like a moment in a person's career where, when their style does the work for them, the art speaks for them, like, you no longer have to. I think that's just such a beautiful place. So I just want to say that, because I want people to know that it doesn't just happen overnight for people. So that's really important. Let's shift gears one more time. We're going to shift again here, and I want to have you talk a little bit about being an artistic business owner, because you have your online classes that you teach, you have products, you have a shop, and now you just created a new design team. So talk a little bit about how you juggle that space between being an artist, but also being an artistic, creative entrepreneur.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, because a lot of things are happening right now.
Yeah.
There's a direction, I'm not leaving where I'm at. I'm just, there's going to be a parallel road that I'm taking. That's a natural progression over from where I'm at. I'll tell you where it happened. I had been learning and growing, and a stamp store opened locally, and she needed some instructors, and I was encouraged to go in and teach. And I was like, I don't know the first thing about doing that, but it was wonderful. And I was ordering rubber stamps at the time for the classes, because I was trying to help her sell product as well. It was mutually beneficial.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I looked at one of the girls in the back room, and I said, if I made my own stamps, they would be what I want. And she's looked at me and she goes, yeah, and you could do it. And I was like, I think I will. And so, I mean, that's sort of my personality. It's just sort of like, I decide on something. All right, I'm going to give that a try. I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't work, what have I lost, And so I did. And that started Paperback Studios, which way back when, I didn't really expect to be here today. So I just created a name, and there you go.
All right.
I did design stamps, and we're still doing that as well.
Yeah.
And I never was one to, I think it was more of a hobby business. It was, I didn't do a lot of advertising, and it was just sort of like, I honestly, the way my husband and I looked at it, he says, God will give us just what we need. And we never worried about it. And he did.
Yeah.
So, but little by little, as things kept growing, then people wanted to take classes with me. And I'm like, well, I was traveling, but I was traveling so much that it was getting very stressful, and I was getting burned out. And so then it was like, not a lot of people were doing them online back then. You didn't really have the resources to present them online. And so I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to learn it, because I love the tech. So I figured it out. Those first videos are not as good as what we have today, because the technology is so much better.
Yes. Yes.
And so, I had to learn a lot of things as I went, and I don't have all the answers. There's still so much to learn, because even social media and so many things change every single year that you really have to, keep up and grow. And it's a lot. I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy by any means, because it's very hard. But I love it, but I do work a lot of hours. I mean, there's times when I'm spending all my time on bookkeeping and ordering and stuff that I really don't like to do, but I still love what I'm doing. And so it all, balances out in the end.
Yeah.
So I started out with the class. Well, the stamps really are where it started, and I was traveling and teaching, and then I started teaching online. And then it seemed like a natural progression to create products that, because I was kind of making things and using them, and it was like, well, maybe I could sell those things. And I dabbled in digital scrapbooking for a while, and I had my stuff in a couple of online stores, but it was a lot of work, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I just took the products that sold the best and put them in my shop, at the time Etsy. And so little by little, Art Pops were launched, which is me leveraging all my work into other products. And then I don't do a lot of my own handmade things, but every now and then I'll put stuff in there. And then I realized that Etsy was killing me with the fees. And my husband's like, we need to do something, because you're paying an awful lot of money in fees for Etsy. And Etsy at the time didn't have, you couldn't have your access to your customer information. It was very limiting. You could style it the way you wanted. I know they've come away since then. So then I was like, all right, great. 2 years ago, got to make a new store. So I did that for my stamps and my art stuff. And so those are on the Shopify platform. There's a lot of options out there, but I investigated and fell in love with Shopify.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, love them. And so, so not only that, there's inventory, there's processing orders, and that's and I love it, but it's just tedious work, and so I could spend 4 hours processing orders and getting it ready and doing, but so that's part of it. If you want to offer a tangible product, you can still do this without doing that. So what has been transpiring is, we kind of started last year. I'm just going to keep it real here. There was a time years ago, I dealt with depression, and I deal with anxiety. In fact, I had some anxiety this morning, and it was like, all right, I'm going to be okay. And I really just did what I could, and I didn't do any more. And I really started doing so much better, like the latter part of, I don't know what year, a couple years now, I've been doing just really, really good. And part of that is getting out there more, not just having my hands in a video, but me being in a video, me connecting. And I realized it was time, and I was ready to kind of take that next step. So I started a Facebook group. I through a lot of people saying, why are you not promoting the stuff you already have? Well, my mind was, well, it's old. Who's going to want to watch it? And they're like, people who don't know you, who just
exactly
see all that stuff you've done. They're not going to go to your blog and spend 5 hours looking for it. Go, put it out there. And so I did that. And then another big decision I made that started in March of this year was I hired some help. They're virtual, but I have to tell you, I know that I've heard podcasts and so forth that said, once you do it, you're going to wonder why you didn't do it sooner. And I am absolutely saying that. Now, we're all still getting used to each other and figuring out how it's going to flow. But it has really been a blessing to me, because I'm able to say, wow, there's multiples of me, but I'm focusing on the things that I'm good at, that I can only do. Just me. And this is going to help, because I'm also, one of the things that brings me so much joy is helping other people do what I do, and it's becoming more and more of a question, and more of, how do you do? What do you do? So that gave birth to artstretch.biz, which hasn't launched yet. It's in the process. So that's the parallel. It's going to be sort of an academy where there'll be, classes on various aspects of what I do. The first one will be the tangible products and the digital products, like how you do it, from, how do you create it? How do you leverage? How do you scan? To how do you sell it?
Nice.
And I know that there are resources out there, and there are people who do it, but not the way I do it exactly. And I don't know all the answers, but I can share over the years of what I've done, how I do it, and hopefully help. I think part of it is I've reached that age where, and this happened this last week or maybe earlier in the week, I was contacted for some advice that I felt like, oh no, I've reached that point where I'm now the mentor and I'm no longer the mentee. And I was like, is that a good place to be? And yes, it is. reached out to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. So my mindset's shifting a little bit, and there's a lot of just new, younger artists and people, hence the design team. And they're just amazing. And I'm like, I want to be able to help them be successful too. Because one day I'm going to retire, and I'm not, I'll do this as a hobby, but my husband retired about 3 years ago, and we travel a lot.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that we didn't want to give up. And he's like, but you're growing your business and we're trying to travel. So having the help.
Yes. Makes a difference.
So I love being a business owner. There's a lot of aspects of it that are hard and I don't care for, but it's worth it. And I just feel like there's too much opportunity today for anyone who wants to try to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to look at it and think, okay, yes, there's a lot of people doing it, but you're the unique one to what you bring.
Exactly.
And there are so many people in the world. I still have people after all these years going, oh, I just discovered you. I didn't know you sold stamps. I'm like, I've been selling stamps since 2004.
Yes.
So
I love it.
It's not, you can't think about, oh, well, it's already been done, or there's already somebody doing that. But you are the person. They want to be under you. They want to learn from you.
Yes.
And so, so I'm really excited about that not new direction, because I still want to serve my current group, because I love that, and I love bringing ideas and art, but I feel like I'm being called in that direction.
Yes.
I really do. For a while I have. So I'm looking forward to where that takes me. So
that is awesome. I'm so excited to hear that, and a huge congratulations. And the design team, oh my gosh, you have some amazing folks on that team. So I am looking forward to seeing what they do with all the goodies that you guys are creating over there. I want to have you talk a little bit about, as you start to go into the new direction, as you start to travel and do all the things that you do in your business, what do you see for yourself down the road? Like, do you plan ahead like that? Do you say, okay, in the next 3 years, here's where I want my business to go? Like, what's your vision for your future? That's such a big question. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I asked that huge question. So you make it the size that you need it to be to answer that question, because that's huge.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting because you see so much out there on the internet about planning and you got to have a 5-year business. I had a business plan. I still don't have a business plan. I do. There are things that I do on the fly, and then there are things that I'm very structured in and I plan for. I have found that the creative side of me has a really hard time saying, okay, this month I'm going to create a class. The class can come out of nowhere, and then I block off a week and I create a class.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a lot more methodical about that. And of course, with Art Stretch, I am, and I'm able to plan. So I think that it started last year when I said to myself, all right, what would you like for at least the next year? Now, 3 years from now, there's just too many things in life that change and change quickly.
Yes.
And some might say, well, you're not really committed or very focused if you don't know what you want to do in 5 years. And I'm like, I don't want to be tied down to that.
Yes.
I feel like I'm free. If I want to take a couple months off, I want to be able to do it.
Yes.
So anyway, but for this year, I was like, all right, you have 3 main goals, and if you can do that, then this is good. And I took on a lot. Hiring some help. The design team came as a result of that. And then the Facebook group was huge, and I couldn't be happier. I'm absolutely loving it. And then moving towards the Art Stretch, which I've been thinking about for 3 years. I mean, this is something that just came to mind. I've been putting it off, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to do it. So I think it was just going in and saying, all right, these are the things I would really like to do in this year. And this was probably the first year where I really did say, I'm going to do this. Don't keep procrastinating. Go ahead and just jump in and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then next year we want to expand the design team. So we are looking ahead, because see, what's hard is when and I worked for an ad agency. It's not like I don't know these things. You don't decide to plan a magazine for next month the month before.
Right.
it has to be planned.
Exactly.
And so I'm doing a little better, having things looking a little bit more ahead. And I think having someone helping me is going to help bring that about. Like, I don't even plan my blog posts in advance. I mean, write it, and you're not supposed to write it the day of, publish. I mean, that's just the way I do it. I just feel like I got inspiration and I just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And it works for you. If it works for you, it works for you. Yeah.
It does. And that's the thing, you know, I think in this whole big picture, it's saying, yes, there's a lot of resources out there. Yes, you can get information, but don't think that just because that person does it that way, it's going to work for you. Same with art, you know, it's, you know, some things I've tried, I'm like, I just can't do that. It's not me. It's not my personality. I can't, you know, put myself in that box and keep myself there. But I am trying to do a little more pre-planning so that I can, it actually is making me feel a little less stressed to know that I'm ahead of things a little bit. So whether that will last or not.
I can totally relate to that. So what I just want to kind of go back to a couple of things you said, and then we're going to go to our last couple of questions here. But one of the things that I think is really important for people to kind of perk up and listen to that Roben-Marie is sharing with us is the evolution. Like, evolution is really big. Also, the idea that, because I'm similar to you in that people will email me this week about a video I did in 2013. They're like, oh my God, I just binge watched the first 5 videos for Book in a Day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's from 2013. Horrible lighting, bad camera. No.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're like, please don't let that be a barometer for what I'm doing.
But people still watch them. They love them. They comment. I get a comment on a video and I'm like, what video was this? I don't even remember doing this video. So and I'm saying that to say, the things we put out in the world, it's almost like this archive of our journey. And I think it's important for people to know that what they see today is not what you started. So many people, one of my favorite quotes is, don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle. And I think so many people do that. So I just want to sort of reiterate some of that, because I think it's really important for people to hear someone like you who's so accomplished, who we look at from the outside looking in and we say, wow, look at what she's doing. And we have no idea what it took you to get to that, right? And we have no idea what's happening in the background. So I think the art stretch is going to be well received, and it sounds like a beautiful, whatever it ends up being, I know your hands are touching it, so it's going to be awesome. Now, as you start to, so the design team, you talked about that, and they are just I just want to clarify, they're going to be using the products that you guys are creating, and they're creating art and sharing that with folks.
Yes, and that actually came as a result. Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, all right, we talked about this earlier, I think. So I hire my VA, my virtual assistant, and she's like, you know, you don't promote any of your products, like your past stuff. It's when your new stuff comes out, you promote it, and then you don't re-promote any of it. Why are you doing that? And I'm like, well, one, it's time.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm focusing on new stuff, it's hard for me to go back and redo for old stuff. And she said, well, you need a design team that can be just working with all of those things, creating projects with them so that you're constantly putting it out there. There's lots of people that have never heard of you or heard of the products or don't know about them. And I was like, ding, ding, you know, light bulb goes on. And I'm like, you're right, but I need to have help.
Yes.
So he really has been instrumental in helping me organize that.
And
really facilitate and help get that moving. And I'm excited because these girls are awesome. And what we didn't do an open call or anything. We're going to expand the team in 2018.
Right.
Because right now we just have the 6 and they're only working 6 months, but we're going to make it bigger in the new year.
Yeah.
It will work out. And I really would like to, because I'm hoping to create more products, you know, by the end of the year as well. So we'll have
nice.
And, but the other thing that I love about this is that these ladies are relatively new. Most of them are young, and this gives them an opportunity. It's like I was talking about the kind of that mentoring position a little.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to help them do well. I want them to succeed, and this is an opportunity for them as well. So I'm happy that it's going to be good for my business, but it's just awesome. And they have just been so sweet. I mean, I got some mail art from one of them just today, and I'm like, oh, you know, it's just part, I don't know. Again, it's that I feel like suddenly I went from one role to another on the other side, but it's like, oh, wow, so.
Yeah.
But,
No,
yeah.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that. So, I had this question in my head, and it keeps going back and forth, like, ask it, don't ask it. But I think what I want to do is go ahead and ask you to talk a little bit about the Claim You're Happy.
Okay.
And then we'll go to our last question after that, because and that's the one that keeps going back and forth. And the reason I'm going back and forth is because I think that our world is in such a place where people need a place, they need a way, they need a community, they need a group of people that they can be around who help build sustainable happiness. So my husband and I do a whole thing around not just happy, but sustainable happy. And I think what you're doing with the Claim You're Happy is the first step to that. Like that, you got to claim it first. You got to choose it. You got it, right? So talk a little bit about Claim You're Happy.
Yeah, and it's funny because it came about a while back, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I got the domain, and I thought something will happen. I'll figure it out. And one of my girlfriends helped me write an updated bio, and there was some line in there, and I was like, oh, Claim You're Happy, I love that. I said, I'm going to use that somehow, because I feel like that reflects me and what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a believer that happiness is not the same as joy. Joy is there because despite any of your circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
you have that.
Right.
And as a Christian and a woman of faith, that I understand the difference between that, because even when things are not going great and I'm not exactly happy, I still have joy.
Yes.
Those things.
Yes.
But the happy, it's just what you said. It's there's so much negativity, and I mean, even online within other groups I've been in, where I'm just like, I don't want the pettiness here.
Yeah.
I want people to come in here that are going to be edified and uplifted and encouraged,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to feel like, you know what, I kind of like this group, and maybe meet some friends online. And so my goal with that group was to be very specific about that, and also be able to facilitate that and be
Mm-hmm.
able to protect that.
Yeah.
And it's not even been live that long, and we were at about 1,700 people.
Yeah.
I'm so amazed. I was so excited when I hit 400. And then it kept growing, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So and I'm really, really enjoying it. And I feel like part of it came from a lot of emails I got. From those that had signed up to be on my email list. I would get these emails that were, gosh, it made me kind of sad. And I would hear people expressing to me, I don't, whatever, the ones that have dealt with depression. I've lost a husband. My son passed away. I'm, whatever. And I'm just like, wow. And again, I look at this, to me, and we talked about this a little bit before we got on for the recording.
Mm-hmm.
I look at this as even a ministry for me. I'm not, through the art, I feel like I can bring positiveness, if that's
Mm-hmm.
a word, to
Mm-hmm.
others, and be positive and joyful, and not just there, but now through the group, being able to be someone who can encourage and be that example, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what? There are places and you're not by yourself. I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, but I feel like the responses that I've received and responses I get from others, what they have seen in me led me to go, I need to do this, because you don't see yourself all the time the way others do. And
Yes.
so it's like, wow, they feel that way. Maybe there's more that I can do.
Yeah.
And so, and it's a place to share art, yes, but it's also, I'm hoping that it will eventually just kind of figure out where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so far, I feel like there's a lot that are really, they're feeling connected, and yeah. So I hope, I don't know. It was scary to do it, because not only is it a commitment, but you got to show up. And I'm like, what if it gets out of hand? What if it's not what I want it to be? What if I can't do it? And I'm like, you know what? I just felt too called at the right time. I knew this was the time to do it. And I'm like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love that. Oh,
I
I
makes
love it.
sense. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because a couple of things you've said it a couple of times, is you felt called. And I think you've tapped into I mean, you are a woman of faith and you've tapped into that, and you know that when you're feeling called, when you're feeling led, whatever language people want to use around that, when you feel inspired, when you feel right, whatever it is, if you listen to that, and the more you start to listen to that and you start to do those things, you know, my mother always says your steps are ordered. This, when you follow, when you follow that feeling, your steps will be ordered. And so,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
want to add to that too, because you know, I work at home and I'm by myself. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the only communication I have is through the internet. I know, I
Yeah.
mean, I have my church family and I have friends, but I don't impact anyone outside of my home on a daily basis except for some neighbors and
Yeah.
a few circle of people. So
Right.
it's a way for me to, you know, to shine and be a positive person in the world to others. And
Yes.
I mean, and I know you've gotten those emails too, and
Yeah.
you're just like,
Yep.
wow. And you know, you respond as thoughtfully as you can, and you encourage, and you're like, Lord, I hope that I made a difference there.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so
Yep.
you know, that's kind of the way I look at it too. You know, back when I said I want to blog, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. You know, this is where it's come to. You know, this is
Yeah.
where it's led to. So.
Yeah. Well, I am Roben-Marie. I have to thank you again and again. I'm going to ask you our last question, but I am so grateful, not just for you doing this interview with me, but for everything that you do in the world, the way that you show up authentically, the way that you share. You're such an inspiration, and I know people tell you that all the time, but I just want to say, honestly, woman, you are a blessing to so many people. So thank you for doing what you do. And as we wrap up, my last question is just going to be, what advice do you have for people who are just finding art journaling? Because I firmly believe that every day new people, probably hundreds of people, are just discovering it for the first time. So what do you have to say to those people who are just finding it today, and there's a whole world that opens up to them? What kind of advice do you have for that person?
You know, I do get asked this, and I know this may sound like, well, that's just the regular answer, but it's so true. It's, you know, comparison, and then the quote is, comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is true. And I mean, and even I struggle with that too. Even now, when I see things and I go, why can't I be that talented? Like I tell people, you know, I have limited talents and ability, but then I make up for other things. So I'm just using what I have. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't go and paint this amazing lifelike painting like so and so can, but I do have talent and I have skills.
Yes.
So how can I use what I have, keep improving and learning? And I think when you're starting out with this, well, don't compare yourself, because like you said, don't compare your beginning with someone's middle or your middle with someone's end. You can't do that. And then don't go buy everything. That is another, I mean, that sounds kind of simple, but you get excited and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta have every color paint, I gotta have all of those journals, because you're gonna find that, as we touched on, just because somebody else loves that journal, you might get in and go, I just don't like this. And then you're forcing yourself to try to like it because so and so uses it. Don't do that. You know, you figure it out. And there's a lot of free resources out there to get you started. You know, watch videos and be willing to be open to learn, and then dabble and figure out. And don't think that that first journal page you do is going to look like XYZ's paper journal page, because it's not.
Right.
You know,
it's not.
It's so easy to give up and say, well, mine doesn't look like that, so I'm not going to do it, or I'm not going to share, or I'm, you know, whatever, because it's not good enough. Because you know what? That doesn't matter. And even though it's easy to say that, I know we all end up in that place. It's like, well, I'm not going to share that because that looks terrible. And I'll tell you, I'm the worst student when I'm in a class. Like, I don't even want to work because I feel like, well, what if it's not good enough? And then what are you talking about? It's like, teachers make the worst students.
Yes, we do.
You know,
oh my God.
I'm telling them, don't, it doesn't have to look just like mom. But when I'm taking a class, I want it to look just like
the teacher. Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't work that way, you know?
Yes.
And I think it's just continue to help, you know, continue to learn and educate. There's too much out there. Even if you can't afford to pay for a class, there's a lot of free resources out there, you know, and then you'll figure out kind of what you like. And then when you do, just keep working at it and keep practicing.
Yeah.
And journaling and art journaling is for you. If you're not doing a journal page so that you can take a picture of it and put it online every time you do it.
Yes.
There's tons of pages that I never share. No
Yes.
one sees those things because those are personal in their mind,
Mhm.
and it's not meant for someone else to see. So I think it's just, don't compare yourself, be patient with yourself, and
Yeah.
just enjoy that. I mean, you've discovered something has opened up to you that's going to be amazing. So enjoy getting to where you discover your style and you figure out what you want to do. So
Yeah.
that's the best I can say. Those two things, I think, for sure. So
Yeah, I love it. Don't compare and be patient, and don't buy everything. Don't go buy everything. Roben-Marie, this has been the highlight of my month. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I cannot wait to share this with the world. And for those of you watching, all the links and everything that we've mentioned, the Facebook group, the shop, all of that, her classes are down below in the description. So make sure you check them out. Go and show her lots of love. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Mwah.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much.